If you receive Social Security, or if you are planning to retire on it within the next decade, there is something happening right now that you cannot afford to ignore. The Trump administration has made more changes to Social Security in the past 18 months than any administration has made in decades, and most of those changes are not the ones you have heard about. People are talking about the promises Trump made on the campaign trail. They are not talking nearly enough about what his administration has actually done since taking office, what it is currently doing to the agency that manages your benefits, and what the combination of those actions means for the money you are counting on every single month. This video is going to lay out the full picture without spin in either direction, because the truth here is more complicated and more consequential than any headline you have seen. By the time you finish this, you are going to know exactly what changed, what is still changing right now, what is at genuine risk, and what specific steps you need to take to protect yourself. Let's start with what Trump actually promised Social Security recipients during his campaign, because understanding the gap between those promises and current reality is the essential frame for everything else. Trump made three major commitments about Social Security. First, he pledged to eliminate federal income taxes on Social Security benefits entirely, a promise enormously popular across party lines because many retirees resent paying taxes on income they already paid taxes on while working. Second, he vowed to protect Social Security from any benefit cuts, repeatedly telling voters the program would be untouched under his watch. Third, he committed to leaving the full retirement age exactly where it is, pushing back against suggestions from economists that raising the age above 67 was necessary to address the program's long-term funding shortfall. These three promises generated genuine enthusiasm among older voters. So the first question to answer honestly is which of those promises have actually been kept, which were partially kept, and which have effectively been abandoned. On eliminating taxes on Social Security benefits, the answer is a nuanced partial. Trump did not achieve full elimination, but the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, signed into law on July 4, 2025, created a new $6,000 enhanced tax deduction for each taxpayer age 65 and older, increasing to $12,000 for qualifying married couples filing jointly. This deduction applies beginning with the 2025 tax year and runs through 2028. For many seniors with modest incomes, it has the practical effect of reducing or eliminating federal taxes owed on their benefits. The White House stated that 88% of seniors now pay no federal tax on Social Security because of it. However, the deduction phases out for single filers with modified adjusted gross income above $75,000 and joint filers above $150,000, meaning higher income retirees receive reduced benefit or nothing at all. Full tax elimination did not happen. A meaningful but temporary partial reduction did, and it expires in 2028 unless Congress extends it. On protecting Social Security from cuts, the answer depends critically on how you define a cut. No monthly benefit amounts for current recipients have been directly reduced. The 2026 cost of living adjustment was set at 2.8%, adding approximately $56 per month to the average retired worker's payment and bringing the average monthly benefit to about $2,071. On the surface, benefits went up, but the Medicare Part B premium simultaneously jumped to $202.90 per month in 2026, up 17.90 from the previous year, a 9.7% increase. Because roughly 70% of Medicare enrollees have this premium automatically deducted from their Social Security checks, the net take-home increase for most beneficiaries was closer to $38 per month, not $56. For seniors with higher income-related Medicare surcharges, the COLA was effectively wiped out entirely. So while no direct cut occurred, the real purchasing power improvement many beneficiaries experienced was far smaller than the headline percentage suggests. On the retirement age, Trump has so far held the line as promised. Full retirement age for those born in 1960 or later remains at 67, and no legislation advancing a higher retirement age has moved forward. However, in September 2025, a senior Social Security Administration official made remarks widely interpreted as signaling openness to discussing a higher retirement age as part of a broader reform conversation. Those remarks were quickly walked back after political backlash, but the episode revealed that the administration's commitment is political rather than principled, meaning it could shift if the political calculus around the 2032 trust fund crisis changes. Here is where the story becomes significantly more important and significantly more underreported. While Trump has publicly maintained his pledge to protect Social Security benefits, his administration has simultaneously done something to the Social Security Administration itself that has genuinely alarmed virtually every nonpartisan expert who studies the program. Working through the Department of Government Efficiency, the administration effectively unleashed a radical restructuring of the SSA starting in early 2025. Between January 2025 and January 2026, the Social Security Administration lost roughly 7,500 to 8,000 employees, representing approximately 13 to 14% of its entire workforce. This is the largest single-year staffing reduction in the Social Security Administration's 90-year history, executed in less than 12 months. The SSA's staffing was already at a 50-year low before DOGE arrived, meaning the agency was already dangerously stretched while simultaneously serving more beneficiaries than at any point in its history because of the baby boomer retirement wave. The cuts hit precisely when the agency needed to expand, not contract. The cuts did not fall evenly. More than 3,000 of the eliminated positions were staff who directly help people, workers who take appointments at local field offices, people who answer phones when you call the SSA's 800 number, caseworkers who process applications for retirement and disability benefits. These are not administrative overhead positions. These are the people who are the program from the perspective of ordinary Americans trying to navigate it. The consequences have been immediate and measurable. Starting in April 2025, individuals were told they could no longer apply for Social Security benefits or make changes to their direct deposit information over the phone in most cases. They were required to visit local offices in person or use online accounts instead, options that create real barriers for seniors without reliable internet access, people with mobility limitations, and rural Americans living far from the nearest office. The administration also proposed cutting the number of in-person field office visits it would service in fiscal year 2026 from more than 31.6 million to no more than 15 million, a proposed reduction of more than 50%. As of mid-2026, 10 offices across 9 states are either operating on an appointment-only basis or closed to walk-ins entirely. Rural communities have been disproportionately hard hit. Research found that Wyoming alone lost 19% of its Social Security Administration staff in fiscal year 2025, with similar patterns in other states with large rural populations and limited alternative services. The number of disability claim cases pending jumped by more than 73,000 between January 2025 and February 2026 as the backlog grew alongside the reduction in hearing officers and case processors available to work through those claims. For someone waiting on a disability determination while unable to work, that backlog is not an abstraction. It is months of financial hardship between them and benefits they may be legally entitled to receive. The DOGE operation at the SSA also raised data security concerns beyond service quality. A team of DOGE programmers installed themselves at Social Security Administration headquarters and demanded access to sensitive databases containing personal information on more than 73 million Americans, including Social Security numbers, earnings histories, banking information for direct deposit, and medical records related to disability claims. A whistleblower from within the agency described serious data security lapses by DOJ officials who accessed this data in ways that violated agency protocols and may have violated federal law. A federal judge issued a temporary restraining order limiting DOJ's data access. The Social Security Administration has historically maintained a payment accuracy rate of 99.7% and administrative costs of only 0.5% of benefits paid, making it one of the most efficient large-scale payment operations in the world. The concern among experts is that the rapid loss of experienced technical staff combined with pressure to rewrite complex legacy systems creates operational risks that are difficult to quantify but potentially severe. There is a crucial piece of the financial picture that most mainstream coverage has severely underreported, and it directly connects the administration's legislative agenda to the long-term solvency of Social Security in a way that contradicts the stated goal of protecting the program. The One Big Beautiful Bill Act, which Trump signed and presented as a benefit for retirees, also reduced the revenue flowing into the Social Security trust funds. When retirees pay federal income taxes on their Social Security benefits, a portion of that revenue flows back into the trust funds as dedicated program income. Reducing those taxes reduces that revenue stream. The Tax Policy Center estimated the 2025 law will drain approximately $170 billion from the Social Security Trust Fund between 2025 and 2034. The Bipartisan Policy Center identified this law as a primary driver of the depletion date moving forward by several months. The 2026 Trustees Report, released June 9, 2026, now projects the Old Age and Survivors Insurance Trust Fund will be depleted in the fourth quarter of 2032, one full year earlier than the 2025 projection. In plain terms, the legislative change Trump signed and presented as a benefit for retirees simultaneously moved the date of potential automatic benefit cuts closer. The administration gave seniors a tax break with one hand and accelerated the timeline to a 22% automatic benefit cut with the other. When the trust fund depletes in 2032, if Congress has not acted, Social Security will only be able to pay approximately 78% of scheduled benefits from incoming payroll tax revenue. That is a 22% automatic benefit cut affecting every one of the more than 70 million Americans receiving benefits. The average monthly reduction would be approximately $456 per month per retiree. For a married couple where both spouses receive benefits, the annual shortfall could reach around $10,600 per year. Trump has pledged to protect Social Security from benefit cuts, but the mathematical reality is that without affirmative congressional action to raise revenue, reduce benefits for some groups, or some combination of both, the 22% cut happens by default. His administration has not proposed any specific plan to address the trust fund shortfall. The One Big Beautiful Bill Act made the shortfall larger rather than smaller. This creates a genuine paradox at the heart of Trump's Social Security position. He has promised not to cut benefits and not to raise taxes, but the trust fund math requires either additional revenue, reduced benefits, or both to prevent an automatic cut. If you rule out both available solutions, you are not protecting Social Security. You are deferring the reckoning until the automatic cut arrives on its own. Now let's talk about two genuine wins from the Trump era that actually increased benefits for specific groups, because presenting only one side of this story would be as misleading as the other. The repeal of the windfall elimination provision and the government pension offset, which took place in early 2025 through the Social Security Fairness Act, corrected a genuine historical injustice for millions of public employees. The windfall elimination provision had for decades reduced Social Security benefits for workers who also received pensions from jobs not covered by Social Security, such as many state and local government employees, teachers, firefighters, and police officers. The government pension offset similarly reduced spousal and survivor Social Security benefits for people who received government pensions from non-covered employment. Both provisions were criticized by bipartisan lawmakers for decades as unfair to the public servants they affected, and their repeal increased monthly benefits for millions of affected retirees. By July 7, 2025, the SSA had sent more than 3.1 million retroactive payments totaling $17 billion to affected beneficiaries. If you are a retired teacher, firefighter, police officer, or other public employee who was subject to WEP or GPO reductions, and you have not verified that your benefit has been recalculated, log into your My Social Security account at ssa.gov immediately. Some complex cases still require manual processing and may not yet be resolved. The Trump administration has also reinstated an aggressive approach to recovering Social Security overpayments that has generated significant controversy. In March 2025, the SSA reinstated 100% withholding for overpayments, meaning that if the agency determines you were overpaid, it will withhold your entire benefit check, not just a portion, until the overpayment is recovered. Previously, the standard approach was to withhold 10% of future benefits, giving people time to adjust while continuing to cover basic living expenses. Critics have called the 100% withholding policy devastating because the Social Security Administration has a documented history of creating overpayments through its own administrative errors, sometimes overpaying beneficiaries for months or years without the beneficiary's knowledge, then demanding full repayment. When someone living on a fixed income of $1,500 per month has their entire check withheld because the agency made an administrative error years ago, the financial consequences can be catastrophic. If you receive a notice from the SSA claiming you were overpaid, understand that you have the right to appeal that determination and request a waiver of repayment if you were not at fault, and repaying it would cause financial hardship. Do not assume the agency's determination is correct, and do not ignore the notice. Act on it immediately, because under 100% withholding, your entire check can be withheld during the review period unless you proactively file for reconsideration or a waiver. There is also the matter of student loan garnishment that was reinstated in January 2026 and affects more older Americans than most people realize. The Department of Education resumed aggressive collections through the Treasury Offset Program, which allows the federal government to withhold Social Security benefits from people who have defaulted on federal student loans. Some seniors took out Parent Plus loans to help their children attend college and are now carrying that debt into retirement. If you are a Social Security recipient with defaulted federal student loans, this policy change can directly reduce the money reaching your account and requires immediate attention. So what does all of this mean for you personally, and what are the concrete steps you should take right now? The first and most important is to verify your Social Security earnings record and current benefit information by creating or logging into your My Social Security account at ssa.gov. Check that every year of work is accurately recorded and that the income amounts match your own records. If you spot a discrepancy, file a correction request immediately because the process of resolving these errors is getting slower as SSA staffing declines, and starting early gives you the best chance of resolution. Second, if you currently receive paper Social Security checks, take steps to transition to direct deposit. Roughly 456,000 Americans still receive paper checks, and in an environment of reduced SSA staffing and processing capacity, paper checks are the most vulnerable point in the payment chain. Third, If you are approaching retirement and have not yet claimed Social Security, the 2032 Trust Fund uncertainty adds a new variable to your claiming decision. The standard guidance to delay until 70 to maximize your monthly benefit remains sound on its own terms, but a potential 22% automatic cut in 2032 applies equally to higher and lower benefit amounts and warrants a careful conversation with a financial advisor who can model your specific situation before you commit to a strategy. Fourth, if you receive Medicare and your income dropped significantly in the past 1 or 2 years due to retirement, the death of a spouse, or other life changes, you may be able to request that Medicare use more recent income data to recalculate your Part B premium rather than the 2-year-old tax data it normally relies on. Successfully filing this income-related appeal can reduce your premium and meaningfully increase the net amount hitting your bank account each month.
The bottom line of everything happening right now with Trump and Social Security is that the reality is significantly more complex than either the administration's supporters or its critics are fully acknowledging. Trump has kept his explicit promises on retirement age and on direct benefit cuts for current recipients so far. He has partially fulfilled his commitment on Social Security tax reduction through the temporary senior deduction. But simultaneously, the administration has made the most sweeping changes to Social Security Administration operations in the program's history. Changes that have demonstrably degraded service quality, increased processing backlogs, created data security concerns, and through the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, accelerated the timeline to the automatic trust fund depletion that every administration says it wants to prevent. The program that 70 million Americans depend on is being reshaped on multiple levels simultaneously, and whether those changes ultimately help or harm the people they are supposed to serve will be determined by decisions Congress has not yet made and administrative changes still unfolding.
What you can do is stay informed, verify your own records, understand your rights, and make sure your personal Social Security situation is as solid as it can possibly be before the next major shift arrives.